World Wide Web, I'm Shado, the internet personality of the best hair, and today we're reviewing It. As in, It, the other It. I already reviewed It, but today we're going to be reviewing It instead of It, so we're reviewing It, and god damn, I feel like some days I've been hexed by the angry spirits of Laurel and Hardy. We looked at the original 1990 adaptation of Stephen King's It a while back, and while it sold today like one big damn over 3-hour movie, it was technically a made-for-TV miniseries, while 2017's It is the first official no-bullshit theatrical film adaptation of the Stephen King novel. Well, not to say I didn't have some big shoes to fill, big shoes to fill, big shoes to fill. I mean, the original 1990 miniseries had Tim Curry as Pennywise, and this time we got Bill Skarsgård. Skarsgård. How the hell do you pronounce an A with a circle over it? Well, we got Bill from Sweden. But one of those rare good ideas that happen in big-name movie projects, despite being a big fan of Curry, Bill decided not to try to base his own portrayal of Pennywise on Tim's performance because he knew he couldn't do Tim Curry better than Tim Curry. Either way, the story is about a group of kids in Maine who encounter an ancient and unknown evil that has haunted the town for generations. No matter what, they swear to band together and defeat it once and for all. Which we already know didn't work thanks to the book and the original film adaptation of this going on well beyond the events of this movie, but either way, let's take a look at It, which we already did. Now, can we just end the confusion and call this movie that? We open to terrifying Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema. The dark and stormy night ominously signaling the appearance of Rat Pack Entertainment. All this leading up to the foreboding evil. A folding paper. I know it's a horror movie, but you really don't gotta ham up the dark aspect quite so fast. Pennywise could walk in right now and it'd just seem normal. We don't get a scene of Pennywise stealing away a random little girl from her laundry drying in the rain this time, though. It's right to Bill Denbrough, played by Jaden Lieberher, making that paper boat for his little brother Georgie, played by Jackson Robert Scott. Oh, but the terror, they need wax, and Bill is sick, so Georgie must get it from the dark basement, alone. Oh, so it's his mother playing that spooky fucking piano music. In the dark, in the rain. Fuck it, is his father there too, just out of frame, going, woo? I get this is a horror movie, but damn if this is a dark opening. Like, in the most literal sense. My fiancé and I legit had to wait until sundown to watch this movie because the opening is so dark, any amount of light other than the TV caused too much glare and we couldn't see shit. Anyway, Georgie braves the basement of Spooky to get his brother that wax, and then it's off to the dark and stormy afternoon for some fun.
Be careful.
Or he could just bash his face into the barrier he clearly saw coming. He ducked under the first one, no problem. This means he's too far from the boat when it slips into the storm drain.
No! No! Bill's gonna kill me.
If you mean Bill Skarsgård, then yep. This gives us the iconic scene of Georgie coming face to face with Pennywise, the dancing clown. While the 90s version had so many memorable lines, this time it's just about completely rewritten, but the spirit of the scene remains intact. It also doesn't go unnoticed. Oh, there goes Georgie, praying to Mecca again. The kid and the clown do eventually make progress on their conversation, though, after establishing a mutual love of popcorn. Okay, gotta be honest with you, Georgie is by far the scarier motherfucker of the two. Now that they're friends and all, Georgie trusts him enough to reach in for his paper boat now. And sweet holy fuck, it did not take them long to put that R rating to good use. No cutaways or fade-outs here. Pennywise drags Georgie's ass into the sewers, leaving no trace behind. Unless you count that giant fucking puddle of blood, I suppose. Ah, well, best to introduce more characters before we run out, such as Mike Hanlon, played by Chosen Jacobs. He's helping his grandpa on the farm, but just can't take this sheep's life. That's like every argument against veganism ever in 5 seconds. You wanna eat? Animal dies! Mike's grandfather, Leroy, played by Stephen Williams, gives him a life lesson about not farting around with things like this because this world is full of assholes who won't give him nearly the same consideration. Ah, well, enough of him. Let's introduce the characters we're actually going to be seeing interact for most of the film. Bill's friends, Eddie, the overparented germaphobe, played by Jack Dylan Grazer, and Richie, the loudmouth jokester, played by Stranger Things Mike himself, Finn Wolfhard. Last to jump into this rolling conversation is the topic of it, Wyatt Oleff, who plays Stanley, the Jew.
It says they slice the tip of your dick off.
Yeah, and I think the rabbi's gonna pull down your pants. Turn to the crowd and say, "Where's the meat?"
Guys, they circumcise at a bris, not a bar mitzvah. Jews don't generally just go around chopping off the end of their dicks every time they meet up. This short scene also establishes the bullies exist, as does Beverly, played by Sophia Lillis, who of course is rumored to be ridiculously promiscuous and is hated by every other girl in school. Oh, well, it's a last day, which means summer vacation. As long as you're one of the lucky kids who hasn't gone missing lately, like Betty, whose mother still comes to this school, hoping to find her somewhere.
You think they'll actually find her?
Sure, in a ditch, all decomposed, covered in worms and maggots, smelling like Eddie's mom's underwear.
Shut up.
Don't worry about Eddie being the butt of so many of Richie's jokes. Jack was actually the one who came up with most of that material anyway. This line of talk upsets Bill as he reminds his friends that she's just missing until proven otherwise. Something that makes him feel a little worse, though, is that the bullies appear. We've got Patrick Hulksetter, played by Owen Teague, Belch, played by Jake Sim, and, of course, Henry Bowers, played by Nicholas Hamilton. They don't do much just yet, as Henry's old man, Officer Bowers, played by Stuart Hughes, is nearby. Oh, well, while the fourth bully was missing from that scene, we can still introduce other characters like Ben Hanscom over here, played by Jeremy Ray Taylor. Seems that Beverly has a warning for him.
Henry and his goons are over by the west entrance, so you should be fine.
Oh, I wasn't...
Everyone knows he's looking for you.
Nah, Bev, not since they deleted that scene where Henry tries to get Ben to give him the answers to the test, and then Ben didn't, and then Henry failed the test and now has to go to summer school. Since they didn't show that, now Henry just comes off as a psychopathic asshole. Which is actually probably for the better. But hey, we do establish that Ben kinda likes Beverly, much like every one of the Losers Club, and more importantly, he's quite the avid fan of New Kids on the Block.
Please don't go, girl. That's the name of another New Kids on the Block song.
Yeah, this version of the story kind of shifts the timeline around a bit. Modern take and all, but much like any other modern thing that takes place during the 80s, damn it, they don't do it as awkwardly as possible. Look at them listening to all this stuff from the 80s and watching stuff from the 80s, cause it's the 80s! Never mind that nostalgia is not a new thing, and it's not like anyone back then was listening to things from the 60s. Not every little scene is a happy little childhood memory. Some are less pleasant, like Bill MacGyvering up a working sewer miniature to point out the best place to search for Georgie, only to be shut down by his father, who insists Georgie is dead as shit. Or Mike being tormented by visions of trapped people burning alive, unable to escape, and horrifying visions of clowns and bullies and having to go to work. There's also this freaky deaky melted face woman in a painting in Stanley's synagogue. Her being on the painting isn't quite as scary, though, as when she suddenly isn't there anymore. Now, why the hell doesn't this ever happen to me when I'm looking at Hustler? This freaky bitch causes Stan to run for his life, while at the same time, Bill, Eddie, and Richie head out for a little adventure, while Ben decides to have his adventures in the oh-so-exciting library. Of course, when going through the history of Derry, he finds such fun things as an Easter explosion that killed oh-so many, and decapitated heads and trees, but it's the Easter thing that really stands out, as a little red balloon lures him to a mysterious trail of crispy Easter eggs, leading him downstairs where he can hear another come close behind. Very nice cut. Both the editing and the Perhaps this terrifying figure tormenting Ben and chasing after him is actually less scary while headless, because when he gets ahead, it's Pennywise! And Ben's perfectly fine, but that's to be expected this early in the movie. We shouldn't worry too much, even when the bullies manage to capture him, now all together with the fourth member of their little gang, Victor Cross, played by Logan Thompson. The locals see this assault going on, but it's still Act 1, he'll be fine. Thus Henry begins slicing into Ben's belly.
You're gonna carve my whole name onto this cottage cheese! I'm gonna cut your fucking tits off, I swear to God!
I know I should be feeling terrified for Ben, but I can't stop wondering why Henry looks like a young, pimple-bedecked, mulleted Kevin Bacon. While Ben rolls to escape and Henry is distracted by losing his knife somewhere in the foliage, the other important characters, including Stan, make it to the sewer system that Bill thinks might be where Georgie is lost.
Aren't you guys coming in?
It's gray water.
What the hell's gray water?
It's basically piss and shit, so I'm just telling you.
That's black water. Gray water is what kind of goes down the shower drain, so it's only some piss. While barely inside, they do manage to find a shoe of the missing girl, Betty. Unfortunately, it seems despite what you might learn from Saturday morning cartoons, grade schoolers don't make for the best detectives.
It's summer. We're supposed to be having fun. This isn't fun. This is scary and disgusting.
Shit, Ben runs there like me. Scary and disgusting? Sign me up! So they must help him. But before we see that, Patrick Hulksetter shows up and slowly slinks his way into the sewer system, stalking them with intent to singe. Which doesn't go exactly as planned, as instead of the children, he runs into a bunch of zombie bitches and can't escape as the exit is suddenly locked tight. Well, damn, he died before I could say he looked like a young pimple-bedecked John Travolta. Ah well, the adventure in the sewers was cancelled for the kids, as they decided to drag Ben back to town to tend to his wounds. Being unable to pay for the supplies they need, handy-dandy Beverly pops up and runs interference so they can just steal the stuff. As fun as patching up battle wounds are, it's not nearly so pleasant when she gets back home, and we meet her father, played by Stephen Bogart.
Tell me you're still my little girl.
Yes, Daddy.
Can we go back to the other version of him where he just beats her ass? Fortunately, we don't stick around there for any more context. It's back to the woods with the Losers Club, where nobody can muster up the guts to go cliff diving into the lake first. That is until Beverly shows up and shows them all up, resulting in quite a long scene that isn't people being horribly mutilated and killed, but rather underage individuals engaging in summertime fun that involves little clothing. So let's move on from that as soon as possible to Ben talking about his research into Derry's peculiarly spooky past. In particular, the tragedies.
You can get Derry on Unsolved Mysteries.
No. Tragedies that take place in Derry, Maine. International events don't count. There's also something about a well house, but they don't know where it would be, so let's leave it at that and watch as Eddie heads off on his own, sure to not run into any creepy weirdness along the way. Jeez, you think your town has enough problems, and the next thing you know, motherfucking Jack Skellington moves in. Or a goddamn leper, freaking the germaphobe out like nobody's business as he runs into the creepy house's lot. Not into the house itself, fortunately enough, because no surprise here, it's Pennywise tormenting the youngsters again.
Come join the clownets. You'll float down here. We'll float down here.
It's in the Sewer City Code. We're required to float by law. This is just the start of another string of spooks as we follow up this scare with Beverly discovering a mysterious poem written by a secret admirer, shortly before hearing strange whispering coming from her bathroom sink drain. Trying to investigate, and holy hell, the hair clog has come alive and is trying to eat her! Shortly before the room looks like it's auditioning for a new entry in the Evil Dead franchise! Her father, however, doesn't notice the blood at all, just one of those line of scares, though, as Bill is lured into his basement by visions of Georgie. However, when he gets there, he finds Georgie is being used as a puppet by Pennywise, talking about their fabulous floating offer. Some freaky shit right there. It's no wonder people have likened It 2017 to A Nightmare on Elm Street, because this is the stuff of nightmares. We finally have a little respite, though, as Beverly wastes no time asking the guys to tell her what they see in her bathroom. While her father saw nothing, they see it quite clearly is covered top to bottom in blood. Only one thing to do now.
This is stranger than I thought. 6 different ways inside my heart.
Fuck, the grown-ups can't see it. That's like the best excuse ever to get out of cleaning. However, this is also a chance for her to get closer with some of the guys. Like Bill.
General Embers?
Was that in the play?
She fortunately figures out did not write the poem a hell of a lot faster than she did in the 90s version. They'll figure out that each and every one of them has seen some horrifying vision of some kind, and strangely enough, a clown seems to be a running theme in the phantasm that is haunting them. Well, everyone but Mike. Yeah, he had a vision too, but he's too busy getting his ass kicked by bullies to talk about it. And he gets another one too. Both Pennywise spooks and boots to the head. His screams of agony catch the attention of the Losers Club, who swoop in and throw a bunch of fucking rocks at the bullies. Evidently, at some point early on, the Rock War was rewritten to a fireworks war, but fortunately they changed it back because that makes no sense. Anyway, now that they're all together, Ben can talk about how the strange events happen every 27 years, and Mike can say how his grandfather thinks the town is cursed because there's one evil thing that started a long time ago. But Steve points out the different things they're all seeing aren't real because they all match the personal fears of the beholder.
Or the woman I keep seeing.
She hot?
No, Richie. She's not hot.
I do think she could get into some pretty interesting positions. By taking the old maps of Derry and projecting them over modern Derry, the kids realize the old well house that is mentioned oh so often in the historical documents of horror just so happens to attach to the entire sewer system. But it's in that creepy Elm Street house that looked so important. Eddie has had just about enough of this little horror adventure, but unfortunately for him, Pennywise also seems to be quite the fan of cinema. Now that movie's in 3D, but goddamn modern movie trailers cutting to black every second. Much like this movie, bring in a little sunlight and suddenly you can't see it. So they're fine. Well, then it's time to head on down to the old dark house, gang. We've got a mystery to solve. The first part, of course, being who is going in and who is staying outside to stand guard.
Who wants to stay out here?
Well, that's going to make it a lot easier to keep track of everybody. They end up drawing straws, and strangely, while Beverly didn't raise her hand to stay outside, she ends up doing so anyway. The away team consists of Bill, Eddie, and Richie. Richie's the first to crack, finding a missing poster of himself. It sets the tone as this is pretty much just a house of horrors, what with the floor falling out like this is Rise of the Tomb Raider, and the return of the leper, and Richie's fear being realized in the room of clowns. They're just dolls, though, so no big deal. Much like the very detailed doll of Richie over in that coffin.
Beep, beep, Richie.
But Mr. Pennywise, they don't tell me beep beep in this movie. The guys just tell me to shut up. While they managed to slip away, Eddie's arm was broken and somehow grew a few inches longer in the process. That was better than Pennywise was doing. The torments just keep coming, as when given the choice between the 3 doors, Bill and Richie pick not scary at all.
Where's my shoe? Where the fuck were her legs?
Yeah, that really wasn't anything compared to some of this shit this movie's thrown at us. As such, Bill manages to remind Richie it's all just an illusion, and they make it back to Eddie and a very ticked-off Pennywise, not pleased to hear that his funhouse isn't real enough for Billy. Obviously not enough to kill an ancient evil such as it, but, well, as I said in Wishmaster, if it's any consolation, that hurt like hell. Not defeated, but wounded, Pennywise just claws Ben in the belly, because he hasn't had to patch that up enough in this movie, and takes his leave, down the well of the old well house. Also, Eddie's mother, Sonia, played by Molly Atkinson, doesn't appreciate them breaking her son's arm, and takes him home. Now's when the whole team starts breaking down, and we get our sad, slow scenes that last all the way into August. Now we're going to see Henry Bowers make a request to, shoot a cat, but fortunately his father steps in to stop that from happening.
Look at him now, boys. Ain't nothing like a little fear to make a paper man crumble.
Paper beats rock. Shut up! However, Henry's attitude and his walking animation change drastically when he finds a red balloon hanging on the mailbox. Within, his father's knife has been returned to him. This is even more sinister than it seems, as when he goes inside, the goddamn television is goading him on to murder his father.
Kill him! Kill him! Kill him!
Oh no! Give him a big round of applause!
So is this Pennywise doing it, or is it just another example of what life was like in the late 80s and early 90s? A lot of people seem to think that television just influences you to kill everyone. Speaking of killing your parents, things aren't so bright and sunny in the Marsh household, but fortunately, Beverly is fed up with her father's everything. And they don't say if he's dead or not, but he doesn't move after that, and he does get a nice puddle of blood around his head, so hey, I can hope. This victory is short-lived as Pennywise captures her. Thus, the rest of the Losers Club have to band together, because the damsel is in distress and... Man, that's kind of a cheap way to modify the story. Ah well, they go back to the old dark house and head on down the well. We also see, like any good bait, Beverly is still alive and can give us our first look at Pennywise's secret lair. Oh, son of a bitch, they actually do float! Of all things, that managed to catch me off guard. Not only that, but Pennywise the dancing clown actually fucking dances! My mind is totally blown right now. Of course, he's having trouble with Beverly because, as she says, she's not afraid of him. Oh well, on to plan B. And you have no idea how much I wish I could do that to a double meat Grand Mac. Before Mike can make it down the well, though, Henry Bowers shows up, still psychotic from the influence of the television. Where are the other two bullies? Stabbed to death in a deleted scene, but the point is, Henry is going to kill Mike! Or rather, he's going to try to.
Holy shit!
And while we don't see the body, I'm still going to be very surprised if he manages to come back white-haired and insane for part 2. Now that everyone makes it down to the sewers, they can all start seeing creepy shit and running off on their own like idiots, such as Bill chasing after Georgie. Even to the point where he finds Beverly, but leaves her floating there to go after his brother. When the rest of the group gets there, they at least pull her down and actually try to find some way to snap her out of her trance.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Wow.
Aw, it's like Sleeping Beauty. If Beauty sleeps standing up, like a cow.
Generally Embers.
My heart burns there too. Jesus fuck.
That's genuinely how most of my attempts at being romantic end, to be honest. Anyway, with Bill and Georgie, Georgie talks about wanting to go home with Billy and all kinds of things and sadness and family, but it's a tad off, so fuck it, Bill figures he's not actually Georgie. Don't tell me that actually was Georgie and you straight up killed the kid. Nope, it was it! Can't really say just Pennywise at this point, as the creature transforms into oh so many forms as it does battle with the children who surround it, and kick the ever-loving fuck out of it! But hey, it is a battle.
Hey, Bevy. Are you still my little girl?
Huh, great strategy there. Turn into the guy whose face she already bashed in earlier today. That'll stop her. The stabbing and bludgeoning isn't really what's doing the creature in anyway. It's the fact that now, none of the children are afraid of it. So it crawls into a hole and falls, and they figure, it's good enough. It's probably dead. Not really as convincing as any other version of the story, but it's what we got. Well, except for that weird vision Beverly had while she was floating.
I saw us, all of us, together back in the cistern. But we were older. Like our parents' ages.
Next time on It. Bill figures, okay, it seems dead, but if it ever comes back, they all must agree to come back again to destroy it for good. And this is the late 80s, so they do this with a good old-fashioned blood oath, and go on their merry ways, not to see each other again until the sequel comes out in 2019. Okay, so in this version of the story, you learn that Ben wrote the poem pretty definitively and quickly, but don't care. Wonderful. Oh well, is there anything post-credits for me to look at? Pennywise laughing at me for getting my hopes up. Oh well. Well, that was it, 2017. It's a little off here and there, but oh so damn good. It is kind of like a marathon of horror scenes, one after the other. Sometimes they don't feel like they're connected in the strongest of senses, but the thread that goes throughout does work. Obviously, comparisons will be drawn to the 1990 TV movie/miniseries, and there are quite a few differences, but of course there's a ton of differences between both films and the original novel as well. So far as the story goes for this movie, it holds together. Ancient mysterious evil that feeds on fear torments small town in Maine, children most affected. We don't get all the answers, but this is part one of 2 movies, and it's a series you can be damn sure isn't going to metamorphosize itself into a trilogy for no reason. The focus on fear gives the movie plenty of room to stretch its legs, and damn if they didn't put it to good use. I guess that's why some of the more basic aspects feel so disappointing. They have an old, dark house that looks like something out of a later Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Okay, New Line Cinema, we've seen you do this before. And of course, Beverly getting kidnapped and being the damsel in distress. I guess that beats the child orgy from the book, but only slightly. Overall, It 2017 managed to breathe new life into the story with a fantastic cast of very good child actors who do the story justice. Some of the changes this time around work better than others, but Bill Skarsgård's performance as Pennywise manages to stand on its own, making this movie another memorable experience, coming in at 5 deadlight staring contests out of 5. Yes, some flaws, and some of them feel a bit bigger if you're really attached to the other versions of the story, but overall the quality of the acting and the visuals stand up very damn well. Thank you all for watching. I've been Dr. Shado, and remember, you'll float too.
She hot?
No, Richie. She's not hot.